As reported here last night, thanks to NBC News embed in the Romney campaign, Garrett Hake, we now know what the secret Mitt Romney says at his $50,000 per person fundraisers that the public Mitt Romney would never say. At that fundraiser where Garrett Hake was able to overhear him, Romney demonstrated some competence in campaign math. He told his audience that President Obama's huge lead among Hispanic voters, quote, spells doom for us, end quote. That's when Romney told his audience that he's going to have to come up with some kind of, quote, Republican Dream Act. And then he added, we have to get Hispanic voters to vote for our party. And Romney has two big problems with Latino voters. His first big problem is Barack Obama, and his second big problem is Mitt Romney.
The question is, if I were elected and Congress were to pass the DREAM Act, would I veto it? And the answer is yes. The answer is self-deportation, which is people decide that they could do better by going home because they can't find work here because they don't have legal documentation to allow them to work here. I think you see a model here in Arizona.
Tonight, Romney strategists are staring at what may be a Latino lock on the Electoral College. A Democratic source outlined this scenario to Politico. Assuming that Obama wins all the states that have been won by every Democrat for the last 20 years, including both Gore and Kerry, and Romney wins all the states that McCain won in 2008, that leaves 10 states. With those 10 states, there are 1,024 possible combinations. Out of those scenarios, 1,024 scenarios, Obama wins 939 of them, and Romney wins 85 of them. All 85 scenarios require Mitt Romney to win Florida. A new robo-poll of Florida registered voters shows President Obama leading Mitt Romney in Florida by 5 points, 50 to 45%. And among Florida Hispanic registered voters, the president's lead is much, much wider. President Obama leads Mitt Romney 52 to 37%. And if you think that Mitt Romney can close that gap by choosing Marco Rubio as his running mate, with the magic of Marco Rubio on the ticket, absolutely nothing changes in Florida. Obama-Biden leads Romney-Rubio among Hispanic voters 52 to 37%. Joining me now, Voto Latino Executive Director and MSNBC contributor Maria Teresa Kumar, and former senior advisor to Senator John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign, MSNBC political analyst Steve Schmidt is back. Steve, again, I start with you when I outline these grim-looking numbers for Republican strategists, because I just imagine Republican strategists like you in the Romney campaign office tonight looking at those numbers saying, how do we do this? Look what we've done to the Latino vote with what our positions have been. How can we possibly get them back?
If you look at the Republican Party as a whole, there are big sections of it that if we had a deliberate strategy to antagonize every Latino voter in this country, it's not possible that we could have done a better job. If you look at the fact that George Bush got 40% of the Latino vote, it fell off to 32% for John McCain, and you look at a further drop-off for Mitt Romney. This is the fastest growing demographic in the country. Republicans are going to have to compete in the Hispanic community. Republicans are going to have to be present in that community. They're going to have to campaign there. They're going to have to not just pay lip service to it, they're going to have to advertise there. And there's going to have to be a long-term concerted effort, and the Romney campaign is going to have to invest tremendous resources into the Hispanic community to offer a value proposition, because the fact of the matter is this, is the Republican Party cannot be a national party if it doesn't compete in the Hispanic community. And you look at those numbers, we have big, big problems.
Maria Teresa, the polls look very good for the president, but are the Democrats and the president running a real get-out-the-vote game with the Latino vote, and is the Republican Party capable of running something similar in that community?
Right now, the Obama campaign is starting to deploy their forces. So Arizona, for the very first time, actually looks like it's in play. They definitely need Colorado. You need North Carolina. Ohio might be in play because of the Latino vote. And what's nuts is even Virginia because of the Latino vote. And what Romney needs to do is basically start start shaking his strange bedfellows off, such as Chris Kobach, which he's trying to do right now, is distance himself from the person who was the architect behind SB 1070 in Arizona. But then he still brings in stranger bedfellows.
That's one of the people who's endorsed Romney, and
endorsed him, and Romney said he was
wanted that endorsement.
Yeah, wanted that endorsement. But at the same time, just 2 weeks ago, he also mentioned that Pete Wilson from California was also going to be his co-chair in California. That's a dirty word among Latinos in California. Not that he needs it, but it demonstrates that
the former governor of California who has not such a great reputation with Latino.
Well, you could say he was actually the original Chris Kobach back in '93, and he's been the one that also advised Meg Whitman. And up to that point, Meg Whitman in California, when she was running for Senate, was leading among Latinas, among the ones that actually go to the polls, women. So when you start looking at how the Republican Party is actually in trouble, Mitt Romney specifically, not only is there a perceived war on Latinos, but there's also perceived war on women. And then you have two groups, you do your Venn diagram, and they happen to be Latina women, and you're like, oh God, you're in trouble.
Steve Schmidt, John McCain had a very strong immigration position that could have been very appealing to Latino voters before his presidential campaign got underway. He kind of left that behind as the campaign progressed, as did President Bush before him. But did you notice that Latino voters track these issues carefully enough that they are noticing exactly what kind of moves the Republican candidates make on these?
Yeah, no doubt. These issues are covered extensively in the Spanish language media. Spanish language speaking voters hear about it, they understand it, they follow it closely. And what I would say is, you look at President Bush, you look at John McCain, I really think that they were victims in the sense that the Hispanic voter in the country was so turned off by what was coming out of the congressional wing of the Republican Party that it really fell hard on both President Bush ultimately and Senator McCain in 2008. So Republican Party has a lot of work to do, and if you look at the state of California, where the Republican Party has effectively collapsed, one of the chief contributors to its collapse is its collapse in its ability to compete at any level with Hispanic voters in the state.
And President Obama is trying to keep it that way. Let's listen to what he said on Univision.
I can promise that I will try to do it in the first year of my second term. I want to try this year. The challenge we've got on immigration reform is very simple. I've got a majority of Democrats who are prepared to vote for it, and I've got no Republicans who are prepared to vote for it. It's worse than that. We now have a Republican nominee who said that the Arizona laws are a model for the country.
Maria Teresa, he's making it clear, don't just vote for me. You've got to vote for Democrats in the House and in the Senate.
Well, he understands that he needs Congress on his side, and that's where Obama's thinking very strategically that a lot of these characters, he may not actually, there might be an enthusiasm gap among Latinos for the president, but if you actually start painting the picture of what the congressional members look like, they're basically the ones that galvanize the Latino vote. That's why Sharon Angle basically gave the vote over to Harry Reid, and that's why Russell Pierce also just recently lost his election. They're the best galvanizers, the folks that attack the Latino voter.
Maria Teresa Kumar and Steve Schmidt, thank you both very much for joining me tonight, Betty.
Thank you.